Good evening, I'm Marty Olson, and welcome to City Focus. And tonight I've got a couple of friends on that I've known for a long time, and the co-chairs of L.O.T, which is an acronym for Looking Out for Taxpayers.
Yes.
At one point in time it was Lower Our Taxes, and I'll let them explain the change. But with me is Eric Parnes, who I've known. It's got to be at least 30 years, I think.
I think so,
When
yeah.
you were on Avery Court and I was doing work on your home.
That's right. That's right.
And Diane Hansen, who are currently serving at the helm of an important group in New London that is looking out for how efficient our government is performing, and often stands up and challenges the government when they feel that they're not working in our best interest. And I want to welcome you both to the program tonight.
Thank you, Marty.
Thank you very much, Marty.
And I also like to give a quick plug. Tonight we've got some special guests working behind the camera in the control room from the Drop-In Learning Center. We've got Azelle and Ramon Morales and Adikia James. And we want to thank them for their efforts, and perhaps this could become a regular stint for these young folks to come out and learn about the producing a television show here. So this is kind of fun, and we're glad to have them here today. Well, guys, we're in the middle of the budget season, and that's one reason why, Eric, you asked me, well, why do you want us here tonight? And L.O.T and budgets and referendums are all kind of hand in hand, and I thought it would be most appropriate to have the leadership of L.O.T come in and kind of give an analysis, or your analysis, of what's been going on since the mayor proposed his budget, and the council has been working on it now for the last couple of weeks.
Right.
Had their first reading of the budget last evening, and kind of give an overview. And I'd like to remind our viewers, as always, we're live, so if you'd like to call in and ask questions, offer commentary or thoughts, or offer an opinion, please do. Locally, we're at 860-440-3154, or if you're out of the local area, we can be reached at 800-253-2285. So let's start with the current budget discussion.
Well, you and I have both been at all the Finance Committee meetings, and you know that the mayor did not exactly present a budget. The mayor presented some numbers that had some negative numbers in them. I've personally never seen a budget that had a negative number. So it was distressing. The whole process to me has been confusing and frustrating and distressing, because he laid it on the department managers. Now, this is his budget. He's the chief executive officer of the city, and he's supposed to present a balanced budget. A balanced budget doesn't contain negative numbers. A balanced budget contains revenue and expense. And to give the department heads a budget where it's, you know, these are the numbers that you had last year, and here's a -$1 million. You figure it out. To me, that's irresponsible and cavalier and wrong, just plain wrong. And there are so many mistakes. I was listening, I was at the Finance Committee meeting last night, but then I went home to walk the dogs, and I watched on television, and several L.O.T members presented public comment before the council meeting, and they brought up some really good points, that the budget's not in balance. There are numbers in this section that don't match the numbers that should be the backup for them in the other section. How is that? Why is that? Who is in charge of this?
Well, Eric, you want to offer your 2 cents as we're opening the discussion?
I just don't understand, really, New London. And it probably goes to every town in America, because they go through the same things that we do, albeit that I think we have more problems than a lot of other cities. We're urban, and technically we're poor. Nobody ever wants to believe that, but New London is poor, and we don't have the money to spend the way that everybody would like to. And we've had many people every year come up and say they can't afford any more taxes. And what the mayor has done which then gets thrown to the council, is we're going to end up with higher taxes. Now, we just had a big tax increase last year.
Well, last year, just for a refresher, the mayor's budget, he came in with a 20% increase, which was how should we say politely, a little over the top.
Well, okay, you're being very polite, but he also knew that was never going to pass. So
Did we call that leadership, though? That's my question.
I call it irresponsible.
I call it political theater.
And it's done every day in government. And for New London to do this, and for him to do this to New London, I think it was just terribly irresponsible, because he knows we can't afford this. And you keep getting opinions and statements from the citizens saying they can't afford any more taxes, but other people say, oh, we have to pay more and more. We're mostly an elderly community, I think, that the attitude is you can't afford to pay your taxes, leave. We'll get somebody who will pay them.
And you know, the median income in New London is around $40,000, but that means half the people get more and half the people get less. The average income is it's more like $30,000. You're asking people who are either on fixed incomes or who are working low-wage jobs to pay a 5% increase last year, another, we don't know how many, but at least 3.5% this year, to increase without considering, without going through carefully every line in every department and finding ways to conserve. An example that I can give from when I worked for the city, the finance director, and I don't know why the finance director was in charge of this, but he decided to replace the copy machines. He got these gigantic machines that were incredibly expensive, and instead of buying them, he leased them. Well, the unfortunate part of leasing is that you have to pay sales tax and you have to pay personal property tax to yourself when you're the city, because the lessor owns them. So the lessor pays personal property tax. They were way too much for the needs of the departments. And then there were two departments that were literally 20 feet apart. They refused to share a copier. They didn't want to walk 20 feet to make a copy.
Well, that's certainly not what I'd call efficient use of scarce resources.
Me either. But those kind of decisions are made every day in the city. It's just bad management.
This is, in theory, why we, as a community, made the decision to change our form of government, to be accountable and to be more efficient and to hopefully cut this type of stuff out. And it sounds like it may be getting exacerbated.
Well, they're doing more than exacerbating everything. This council, we were supposed to go to a mayor form of government that was supposed to be easy, and I personally think it's gotten worse. They're bickering. All they do, one bickers with the other, and the mayor will make decisions. The council doesn't agree with them because the mayor didn't tell them what was going to be happening, and then they're back and forth. I was at a council meeting one time when the mayor promised. He stood up there and promised he would work more with the council. He hasn't done it. He's still doing his backdoor deals, or whatever you want to call them.
Well, yesterday was a case in point where he put a special meeting, an executive session on the agenda, and the councilors were notified minutes before. I mean, hours before.
If that's in reference to the alleged retirement of Chief Ackley, what a fiasco.
Yes.
In that
well, nothing new.
The mayor called for the executive session to put together a separation agreement, and then we read in the paper the next day that, well, I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
Right.
Who's in charge here?
Well, that's the problem that I see, is that the mayor's job was supposed to be in charge, to understand how the city runs, what the charter requires, what the departments do. He put his next in command, Jane Glover, and Zach Levy in charge of the day-to-day operations, and then made Jane Glover the personnel officer, but they still have this $50 an hour consultant who is retired and receiving a pension, as far as I understand, but she's still making money from the city. So we just we're wonderful recyclers, but sometimes it's just not appropriate. Sometimes it's just junk.
I'm going to read something to you and get your feedback here, if I may. These are minimum qualifications for a city department head.
Okay.
The department is development and planning. I got this material from the personnel office. I had to file a formal FOI request and pay for the paper. I have the receipt here someplace. In any event, the minimum, emphasize minimum requirements.
Yeah.
Graduation from an accredited college or university with a master's degree in urban planning, economics, public administration, or closely related field, plus 6 to 7 years of progressively responsible development and planning experience, including 2 to 3 years of supervisory experience or equivalent. Has the mayor's most recent appointment in that area remotely met that criteria?
To the best of my knowledge, she has a high school diploma and no experience. But the mayor has taken it upon himself to defy the charter and do as he wishes. So all the personnel policies are out the window because this, to me, it's cronyism. This is his crony, and he feels that she'll support him, so he's appointed her. She did not have to go through the testing. She did not have to go through an interview process. She was just appointed as a department head. So hopefully she lives in the city of New London. I'm not aware of her address.
I believe she does.
But
I'm not arguing that point.
It's
although
frustrating.
the charter does require department heads to live in the city.
Right.
When has New London actually followed the charter?
Well,
I mean, to the T that they're supposed to. There's a lot of nepotism in this town. Diane said a lot of cronyism in this town. We were hoping that with a mayor form of government, a new mayor, and this person was from out of town, that we wouldn't be having the same people running the town. And we've had, has there been a change? Now, I have nothing personal against Jane Glover. I happen to like the woman. But she was part of the problem, being on the council for how many years? So why do you hire somebody at that kind of salary to be second in command? Well,
as one who was on the council who approved the charter change, the intent of the chief executive, or chief of staff, should I say, the job that Ms. Glover holds, was intended. The intent was to have that person have a strong background in public administration, urban planning, things of that nature, kind of like a city manager who's got that skill set to run the day-to-day operations of the city, and not necessarily be another politician.
She's been the mayor twice.
Three times, actually.
3 times. She knows the city. I'm not going to. There's no.
No argument there.
But I just don't think we needed the same people. I think we need new people in this town to take positions. And
well, that's what the public elected, was the new guy.
But regardless of whether she's acquainted with the city, you know, the mayor, when you're a ceremonial mayor, you're not involved in the day-to-day running of the city. You're not involved in figuring out who's telling you the truth and who's not. You're not dialed into the budgets of the different departments and how they function. But that's what this job is supposed to be. Yeah. It's supposed to be the city manager. We have a mayor who is the head of the city. People know they go to the mayor when they have an issue, a problem, an idea. and the mayor acts, he delegates that out. But someone needs to be running the city while he is out shaking hands and asking for state funding and going to Washington and working with the Coast Guard and trying to find developers, because that's his chosen task, which leads me to wonder why we need an Office of Development and Planning when the mayor has taken it upon himself to do all that work, and we have the New London Development Corp / Renaissance Development, whatever they are now, with the same people.
Okay. I want to share another job minimum. This is for Director of Public Works.
Who wouldn't qualify to be the assistant director in Waterford, because they just posted the job.
Well, and that's been posted now for a few weeks. But the minimum qualifications for our Public Works Director is a master's degree in public administration, business administration, or a closely related field, plus 8 years of responsible management experience, including administration, construction, maintenance, and supervision, or an equivalent combination of experience and training, which provides the required knowledge, skills, and abilities. And the gentleman that was given that appointment, he was a research scientist at Pfizer, bright young man, but doesn't have the background in the field.
He doesn't have the qualifications that meets that job description.
Now, one thing that concerns me, and one that the mayor, I think, is overreaching to be charitable, and the council is allowing this, and that bothers me as well. And I'm going to just read from the charter. Article 6, Section 40, Administration of City Affairs by the Mayor and Merit System. And the mayor shall be responsible for the proper administration of the affairs of the city. To that end shall make all appointments in the administrative service of the city, except as otherwise provided in this act, and except in such cases as the mayor authorize the head of a department or office to appoint subordinates in such departments or offices. Said appointments and promotions in the administrative service of the city shall be made in accordance with the procedures prescribed by the city's personnel board, established by ordinance on the basis of merit, and shall include, but not be limited by, considerations of education, training, competitive examination, experience, and the recommendation of the immediate supervisor, and shall give some weight to seniority or tenure with the city. Somewhere along there I read merit, competition.
Right.
Yeah, the city has a merit system for non-appointed jobs.
Now, Personnel Board, the City of New London Code of Ordinance states the Personnel Board is responsible for the establishment for the City of New London a merit system of personnel administration that will assure optimum utilization of the human resources employed in the classified service of the City of New London to affect the social, economic, and other program needs of the people of the City of New London as these needs now or in the future established. All appointments shall be based upon objective evaluation of merit and fitness to perform work required using competitive selection procedures as specified in Section 40, which we just went over,
Right.
in the charter.
I think he appointed everybody. There was some competition.
There's been no competition.
No, and
My argument would be
he
that,
violated,
that you go out and you advertise
right?
and you interview and look for the best candidate, and at that point, the mayor has the ability to go, Eric, you're the best man for the job, or Diane, you're the best woman for the job, and then it's his appointment after you've gone through that procedure.
I think he knew who he was going to pick before he even was elected. I think it was all planned out of, if I get in, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, and you're going to do this.
Yep. We got our first call for the night, so let's go to the phones. Good evening, and you're on the air.
Hello, Marty. Very good show. Another good show.
Thank you.
Consistently, I might add. I've got a couple of. I look at the young hires. I have nothing. what I did gather when he first hired Zach, and I don't know about the others, was I had learned that if they put in 8 years of public service, then their student loans are forgiven. And I can't blame, like Zach, I watched him last night, and he's so skinny. He looks like a nervous wreck. He looks stressed out. I think he and Nate do an excellent job. But you know, these young hires, I suppose if somebody said, "Hey Mary, you want a department job?" I'd take it too, you know. But no, they're not qualified, and he has to be held accountable. I was just saying to my ex-husband the other day, you know, you can't throw him out. What else can be done? Well, all the people who regretfully voted for him, the last time City Hall was bombarded was by, I believe, was it Mr. Giesing with the chicken poop at City Hall?
That was Von Winkle, not Mr. Giesing.
Allegedly.
Oh, I'm sorry, Von Winkle. I'm sorry.
And I've been corrected that that was alleged but in any event, we know where you're going with that.
So people need to just occupy City Hall. I mean, and sit there and stay there and embarrass this whole administration. I mean, the news crews, they're fed up because it's been one thing after another this whole year, and really every time there's been a violation, I call it leapfrogging, because there's a council meeting every 2 weeks. Nothing has been addressed or even reprimanded. I mean, just there's not much in the charter they can do, but nothing, when you violate it, whether it's a written reprimand or whatever, nothing has been done with the mayor, the police chief, this finance director, and then coming in over budget last year. He was never held accountable for that. So why do we think that we're even going to come in even this year? And if we do, what's going to happen? Nothing. I don't know. And people are so fed up. I'd say bombard City Hall. And by the way, I do have a good lawyer too, so
well, very
I'm
good.
not worried. But I mean, something has to be done. And I think that's the only option, because we can't, and especially during an election year, it would really muck things up. But it would bring attention to a city that is very, very, very dysfunctional. And we're a part of that. We're also, it's not just them, and we're all a part of the problem, but we can also be part of the solution as well. And I think people, my father always said, read the paper, you'll get a 7th grade education. Read the paper, read everything in the paper. And not enough people, I get it that people work, and that people work 2 jobs and 3 jobs, but read the paper, stay on top of, your local stuff. Educate yourself before you go to the polls. I guess that's it. I'll hang up and listen.
Well, very nice. Thank you.
Frustration.
Thank you so much for the call and your kind words. And have a nice evening. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
In that vein, and with the organization that you represent, where and when does L.O.T meet? I mean, you meet weekly, monthly?
No, we meet twice a week.
Twice a month.
Twice a month. The 2nd and 4th Wednesdays of every month. So it's going to be earlier this month, because tomorrow is the 1st. So we'll meet on the 8th, and then 2 weeks later, which will be the 22nd. And we're at the Senior Center at 7 o'clock. And we've always invited anyone who would like to come and share their opinions with us. There's procedure that goes along with it, and Diane is doing a great job keeping that up this year.
We loosely follow Robert's Rules of Order.
But we've always been looking for more people to come join us so we can help, quote, looking out for taxpayers, unquote.
And when we go out to referendum, we have a lot of people come out and help. We have people show up to meetings, and people show up to the petitioning activities that we haven't seen in years, and we so appreciate the help.
Yeah,
But
I know. I mean, that the community looks to L.O.T, especially regarding financial issues, and if there's a concern that it's not in the best interest of the city, where's L.O.T's position? Is L.O.T going to do something?
Right, I'm surprised with this too, because we've been around, I would like to know how many years, because I think I started maybe in the second year, but I know we've been around a dozen years, I want to say, and I'm surprised at times. We're a small group, but we do carry a lot of weight, because people, like you said, they do look to us. What is our opinion, and what are we going to do?
And we have good information. We research. We try not to fly off the handle. We try to have facts. We try to become conversant with the charter, with the city policies and practices. And we feel like we should hold accountable the people that are elected.
Now, you say that you're small. I mean, do you have an idea how many members you do have at right now? I mean, is it?
Yeah, that's a good. Jim would know that.
Jim as in Jim Liziotis.
Yes, he's our treasurer, and he.
Maybe 30, maybe 40.
So you're in that general range. That's a pretty good sized group.
It's not huge, but
And there
I
are,
will say.
and there are dues associated with membership.
Only $10 a year.
And you can come to a meeting without paying dues. You
Right.
can come to a meetings for years and years and years without paying dues. You just cannot vote on the issues if you're there without being a member.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we know we get a good turnout when for our breakfast, when we're getting 100 people for a breakfast. So,
And I think that speaks to the fact that people recognize L.O.T in the community.
I'm hoping that, and they do support us. So.
And we have an excellent core group. We have probably 10 to 15 people at our meetings, and the discussions are lively and sometimes run on and on.
To say the least.
Because
That's
we're
true.
not all from the same political party. We don't agree with each other on every issue. There's spirited discussion. We are nice about it. There can be raised voices and passion, but in the end, we leave respecting each other and having had a very good discussion and having raised some good issues.
Right.
Well, and that's, I think, very, very important. Are you a registered political action committee?
We are a
Yeah,
PAC.
but we don't. We will not stand by one candidate. We have chosen to be apolitical in that realm regarding because we have Democrats. we have
So you're
Republicans.
not endorsing
We're not
candidates
gonna
or
endorse-
parties?
No, we're not going to endorse. We can talk about it, but anybody in L.O.T can support whom they want privately, not as a L.O.T member.
Mhm. I think that's important so that people, I think, have a broader understanding of precisely how you're functioning and the work you're doing in the community and how, and also how that may impact somebody who may want to consider becoming a member. What are they being bound to or not? So it's feasible that you two could be supporting different candidates for a particular office and still be in the same organization.
Absolutely.
It's not like you guys are in lockstep going down the street.
Right. Right.
And we would make the decision on our own to support a candidate based on our belief that that candidate is going to provide fair and transparent government, which is really the whole point of L.O.T, is to hold accountable the people who are elected to be transparent, to be fair, to manage well with limited resources. Because I don't anticipate that the city will have unlimited resources anytime in the near future. There are many good things happening. There are some not so good things happening.
That's true.
So, I'm a big fan of the possibility of the Coast Guard Museum coming to New London. I think the building is beautiful. I hope that it gets built.
I
think
hope it
that
gets built the way it looks.
I hope that it gets built in any shape, but I think a lot of good effort was put into negotiating with the abutting properties and coming to an agreement with the Coast Guard. So I'm happy about that, and I hope that it comes to fruition. But
I think people need to be pragmatic about that. We're not going to be, putting in the first shovel, next week.
No,
I think
it may be as many as 10 years down the road. That's a lot of money to raise.
Yes.
And it all has to be private donations. So I'm happy that the governor has pledged $20 million, and I'm happy that the city has pledged the piece of property. But there's a lot of work to do. And one of the major stakeholders, the Admiral, is a local person who has a lot of love for the area and is going to do a lot of work, and I think good work, and I hope that it comes to fruition, but it's not our savior.
Well, that's a problem that New London's had over the course of time, are what I would call silver bullet solutions.
No,
Yeah.
no, London doesn't have a silver bullet.
Fort Trumbull and Pfizer and
Well,
Shaw's
Captain's
Cove.
Walk, Captain's
Captain's
Walk, tearing up
Walk.
Captain's Walk.
Oh, that was.
Shaw's Cove, Winthrop
Yeah.
Cove, whatever you want to, we've had a number of...
number of fiascos.
urban renewal, the bridges.
New London's had its problems since the 60s.
Yeah, well,
Everybody, I mean, I've said this so many times that I deal with a lot of the elderly, and they remember New London back in the old days in the 20s, 30s, 40s, how great New London was, and they would love to see that again.
It was the center of the area. It was where everyone came.
Right.
It could be that again. It could. There are so many wonderful things about New London.
Well, and
It's
I think
beautiful.
to a degree we still are. I mean, the Guard Arts Center, there's nothing else like it in
No.
southeastern Connecticut.
Right.
The Sail Fest and the fireworks. I mean, if there's something going on, you want to, go out and have dinner, you come to New London because that's where you go.
There's a lot of great restaurants, and I've supported that on our show. So,
Well, and look at the museums, the Shaw Mansion, the Maritime Museum. If you haven't been to the Custom House Maritime Museum, you have missed something wonderful. Lyman Allen, the Monte Cristo House. There are all these wonderful places to go. Ocean Beach is awesome. And I'll plug Riverside Park because Riverside Park is a beautiful piece of property.
The flowers that have been planted there are outstanding.
The flowers are outstanding.
Yeah, so I'm not quite sure who's overall responsible for that, but those folks deserve big kudos, I'll tell you. That's
Yes.
that's a conservancy, right?
Well, the Friends of Riverside planted the majority of those bulbs. So kudos to them. They did a lot of work.
They wanted the work done, and yeah.
well, we got another call here. Good evening, and you're on the air. Good evening.
Good evening. Hello, Marty.
Yes, how are you tonight?
I'm very well, thanks. Watching your show for the first time. I'm enjoying it. And I'm hearing about L.O.T for the very first time. It sounds like something I'd like to join, but they haven't said how you become a member.
Okay.
Well,
I'll hang up and listen.
Well, we meet on, as I said before, we meet on the second and fourth Wednesday at 7 o'clock at the Senior Center. And you can come, you can join us and give us your opinion, and to become a member, all it is a $10 dues, which are paid once a year, and you're a member, and you have a voting right on whatever we bring up.
if the caller would like to contact either of you directly before the next meeting, are you comfortable sharing contact information over the air or
Sure.
not?
I am.
Okay.
I am, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody, I've said this before, they can call my cell phone. It's 860-912-1241.
And you're Eric Parnes.
That's what my license says.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the call and the interest. Well, I see we're building the organization one member at a time here tonight.
That's what it takes. That's what it takes for any of it.
And I think that's important. And you mentioned your program, and L.O.T does have their own program, which runs
7 o'clock on Fridays.
7 o'clock on Fridays, and that's pretty constant.
It has been.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're pretty proud of that one. We haven't
Well,
gotten bumped in a long time, so I hope we don't.
Occasionally, we've had to get there at 8. And 8 o'clock was not the most fun time slot to
No.
fill.
But generally, you're on
But generally,
Fridays.
we're on Fridays, and yeah, we always make an effort to be on Fridays, and it's usually at 7 o'clock. And it's always lively. We have a lot of people in lot who have a lot of good information about many of the boards and agencies that the city has, and they all study the issues, and very little misinformation, I would say. A lot of very good information.
Well, that's good. And from time to time, Eric, you've hosted your own program,
Well,
right?
I still do. It's called In My Opinion, and as of right now, it's after L.O.T, 8 o'clock on Fridays. And I have Dennis Downing with me, who's also a member of L.O.T. And this will run for this quarter, the April, May, and June quarter. And then, in my opinion, it's going to go, well, I'll be on hiatus, but Dennis is still going to be here. He's going to have his own show. And hopefully we'll be back then in the fall for the elections season.
Well, that could prove to be interesting. We do have municipal elections coming this fall. There will be elections for City Council and Board of Education. And I think both have been kind of in the eye of the storm over the last year and a half since the last municipal elections. And the mayor is safe for another 2 years on top. He's not up for election until, that would be, I think, 2015, I guess.
No, and it was brought up to me that they wish they would have offset the elections, that the council elections would have been not the same year as the mayor elections, because then different people could run. Apparently, you are not allowed to run for the mayor or the council at the same time.
You can't run, you can't run for mayor and council concurrently. Matter of fact, 3 councilors, myself included, fit that bill last fall. So the council lost, Pirro and Michael Bassetto and myself because we all ran
You
for
were out
mayor.
of a job.
And we all shot ourselves
Out
in
of
the
a
foot.
volunteer job.
True.
Well, it was most definitely a lively election, and a lot of very, very good issues were brought up because the 4 of you were running. So, it is the way it is. This person won the election. I felt there were better candidates, but the people in New London supported Mayor Finizio, and we gave him 4 years. So we
will.
have to, we just have to buckle up and hope that could it get any worse? Sure. Could it get better? I hope
Definitely.
so.
Well, I would hope so. I mean, one thing I feel that people have got to recognize is that with a strong mayor, for lack of better words, I don't think that we voted to give anybody absolute or unlimited authority or power. There's
hope
checks
not.
there are checks and balances, and that check and balance lies with the city council.
Yes.
Right.
And this council does have a significant role to play, but it's, again, up to them as a body to take advantage of the power that's been bestowed them. And if they don't do that and allow the mayor to run unchecked, it's their own fault.
But they don't suffer as much as the general populace. So,
I mean, they have to
it's
pay for it too,
unfortunate.
but you're right. It's Diane is absolutely right, because the citizens are the ones who ultimately need to decide, and they need to be more vocal. You get the complaints from a lot of the citizens outside of meetings. They're not able to make the meetings. They don't agree with it. They just voice their political opinions in their homes with friends and things like that. Well, it's time that more people come out and go to council meetings or call up the councilors and tell them their opinions.
Well, the council, I mean, from one who has served, I mean, the council does respond when there's a full house. Now,
I have to take issue with you. That's not true on this council.
well, I think very recently regarding the budget. Now, the budget presented by the mayor was going to cut the senior center. Was going to eviscerate the Parks and Rec Department, significantly cut the Public Library of New London. And at the first meeting of the Finance Committee of the Council, I mean, the council chambers was packed with kids and were packed with senior citizens. Suzanne Marieski, the director of the library, is at the meetings all the time to make sure that her interests are as well protected as she can do. And I think the mere presence of that large group of people, the council paid attention. And I think that's been shown by how they've conducted themselves on these issues over the last couple of weeks. And like you say, we've been at those meetings. So, I mean, they've put money back. A question that I've got is what they're going to do with this Martin Center in general. I mean, I think that the plan is to close the building, and there's no plan what to do with the people who are currently housed in there.
All right, so we've put money back into the budget for program and staff, but we have not put money into the budget for repairs and maintenance for the facility. And I don't know how that makes any sense when there are 2 months left in this fiscal year. So on July 1, if you're going to close the building, you need to have a plan in place for where are these programs going to be held? Where is the...
And I've asked that question publicly a couple of times.
There's
I
no
must
plan.
have upset Ms. Edgecombe. She doesn't print what I have to say.
This is New London, and too many people just don't make really what I consider the right decision. Now, how could you close, even consider closing the senior center? Groton has, and I haven't been in the new senior center.
Oh, it's really nice.
It's a gem. Everybody says, what a gem this, because I'm over in Groton and Ledyard at least 2 days a week, and they rave about this senior center. So what do we have in London? We have a senior center that provides lunches. They provide some place for the seniors to go, and people have to remember that the seniors make up a big part of New London. How do you eviscerate their budget?
Well, how do you disrespect our older people in this way?
Well, the
And our children.
The youth and the elderly are the most vulnerable in our society. To me, it's just bad form to be, again, be kind.
Well, political theater again.
Yeah. Well, we got another call. Let's go to the phones. Good evening, and you're on the air.
Hi, Marty.
And how are you tonight?
Good. How are you?
I'm fabulous, thank you.
For their information, I only know this because I go up to the senior center. They've been doing a lot of work up there, and I have no idea where the money came from. I thought we were broke. They redid the bathrooms in the senior center, the men's and the ladies from top to bottom. They redid the gym, put new windows in the gym, painted it, did all kinds of work there. A bunch of the offices got fixed, and I don't get the whole message on what's going on. You know, I know down the road Mike Passero wants the community center, which I agree with because it wouldn't be run by the city, and we could use that, make it big enough to house all the other.
But until that time, what are we going to do?
You had said about the Martin Center. What are we going to do with it?
Yeah.
Well,
What do you do
that
in
could
the
be a
meantime?
community center, because you're not, certainly not where I had always thought a good community center would have been on that Shaw's Cove property, where Howard Bank and Shaw. That's been given development status to someone already now, so that takes that out of the.
Yeah. Well, I think that the investment that's been made at the Martin Center that you've outlined, and I broached this with the council last week, or it was earlier this week. It's incongruous to me that you would spend money on a facility that you're planning on closing.
But Marty, they didn't even know what was going on because I told Mike Passer about it, and they were all shocked. They did not know. They had money in an account that they didn't have to go to the council for, and that's what they were doing, spending all that money. They were really shocked that all that was going in there.
I'm shocked too.
Well, we'll keep on top of that one, and I'll be damned if I'm going to allow the the seniors to get dispersed throughout the city, without careful planning. I mean, to do it just kind of abruptly, I think would be exceptionally bad form.
Well, if they want to close it, in my opinion, it's up to them to find a place to put everybody.
Well, that hasn't been established.
No, I know it hasn't. So I know they want, the mayor wants Tommy Major to become like Tony Molina and run a department that's all through grants. Well, that's fine and dandy, but how many months is there to July 1st? Do they really think that he can get all those grants put in place, if ever?
Well, the mayor's budget's got the grant writer in that department, that position cut. So that to me is kind of counterproductive.
Well, yeah. So I just don't get the whole thing.
Well, very good. Well, we'll keep you apprised, and I appreciate your input as always. And there's a couple of topics you and I need to discuss offline, so we'll get together hopefully a little later this evening.
Okay.
Thank you much.
You.
You bet. We've had some good calls tonight. I've been tickled here.
It's kind of startling news, though, if they've put money in new windows, but they want to close the facility.
How about that?
But remember, that budget is 2012, 2013 now. The 2013, 2000.
Yeah, but I mean,
I
isn't
agree
that
with you.
bad management again?
You're right.
Okay, so it's this year's budget, so we're going to spend the money, but then next year's budget we can't support, so we're going to close the facility. Couldn't we just have saved that money?
How much waste is there? How much waste is there in New London? You were on the council. You must have seen a lot of it.
Well, it's I would call it efficiency more than waste, or lack of efficiency.
Okay, let's call it lack of efficiency.
And I mean, I've got a background in economics, and efficiency is an economic term, and utility and things of that nature, and in doing things right. I mean, we've had an ongoing problem at the high school with the sports complex, even just trying to get to bid to replace the bleachers, which are shot. Here we got a brand new field, and we got bleachers that are condemned. I mean, to me, that screams at me like,
You're right.
This is outrageous.
It is outrageous. But you also have a high school that has not been taken care of and is not ADA compliant.
That is correct.
And they've been yelling about this for how many years?
At least 12.
But we've got an issue. I mean, just before we got off the last council back in 2011, we voted to make the code violations the primary objective at the high school. Since the election in 2011, the school administration has pushed and garnered support, and that's being advanced as well with the Dr. Adamowski, the special master, to replace the high school. And that's a whole different ball of wax.
Marty, is it realistic? Not in this town.
Is he going to pay for it?
A lot of this is still, up in the air.
How long? And I don't even think he's here much longer. He was only supposed to be funded for 1 year.
Well,
and at that salary, I wouldn't refund it.
But he's being funded by the state. We're not paying for that.
Right.
Well,
But that's still our tax dollars.
It comes right out of your pocket.
Yeah, and you know what? You're right. And we've got another call. Good evening, and you're on the air.
Oh, hello, Marty.
Hello.
Good show. I really enjoy this, but I wanted to put my 2 cents in about the replacement of the windows and the gym at the Martin Center.
Yes.
I know it does seem like one department is not talking to the other, and so they don't know what's going on. But those windows have been broken for quite a long time, and that gym was really in need of the things that were done to it. I mean, we exercise there 3 times a week, and it was just a really big mess. So I just wanted to give my 2 cents in that.
Thank you so much, and I agree with our caller. I mean, if it's broke, fix it. That's what it gets down to. And
My worry is that they've now put all that money in, and then they're going to knock the building down maybe they're trying to make it more saleable. Maybe their plan is to sell it. I don't know.
That has not been shared with the public, if that's in fact the case.
And it's not, I mean, I would not object. I think New London is a terrible landlord. I think New London does not maintain the buildings that I would not. Have you been in City Hall recently? I mean, in the offices, the walls are crumbling, the ceilings are falling down on the employees.
Did they ever fix the ceiling in the council
In the
chambers?
council chambers? No, it's not.
I mean, this is one of the things that,
like
I argued, when I ran for mayor, especially with those who are lambasting, the condition of Riverside Park. And it's not just Riverside Park. It's the Martin Center. It's City Hall. It's every property. It's been Ocean Beach. It's been historically we have not as a community take good care of our assets.
Right.
We have a propensity to beat the heck out of them until they fall apart, and then we have to have a massive bond to rehabilitate or replace until they fall down again. And that's not really a good business.
No, we all own houses. You take care of your house or it's going to be in disrepair. Well, that's what you should do if the city owns a building. If they can't maintain what they've got, they need to sell it and let somebody run it who will.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to ask you before, because we're running out of time here, we're getting down to the last couple of minutes. L.O.T filed suit on our current year's budget, correct?
Correct.
And the city council, and that was on a referendum. So you had a referendum petition.
Yes.
And the council voted to have that election for this current fiscal year in November. So you have filed suit on this issue. Can you quickly elaborate on what the status of that is? In a remaining minute?
Well, quickly, the city's attorneys have asked that the suit be moved from state court into federal court, and that is where it stands right now. It's been moved to federal court, which will take, because it deals with a constitutional right to petition the government. So the city's position is that it's a federal issue, and that's my very limited understanding.
Okay. I hate to cut you off, but we're running out of time. Eric and Diane, thank you so much for coming in. And
Thanks. It's been fun.
It's been great. Thanks.
Thank you, Marty.